National retailer Dick's Sporting Goods making headlines after the Sandy Hook massacre by suspending its sales of rifles. And now the company's customers are threatening legal action after the chain refused to fill gun orders that were placed in the weeks before the school shootings. Instead of receiving the guns they purchased, some say that they received gift cards or refunds. And with the price of guns going up, buyers are demanding the firearms they already paid for. So where is this headed? Joining us now, Janet Johnson and Richard Roth, both criminal defense attorneys. Good to see you. So, Janet, do gun owners who placed these orders and didn't get their guns have a case?
I don't think so. I mean, I'm sure there's a lawyer who will file a lawsuit, but if you go to first-year law school contracts, there's no contract when you advertise a gun sale. What you have is something only lawyers could invent called an invitation to treat, and I don't think Dick's owes them anything. Which means basically if you make us an offer, we'll entertain it. And these people came back and said, all right, we'll make you an offer, and then Dick's can revoke their initial invitation, and that's what they're doing. It's not a gun right issue, it's really a contracts issue. Who does have a lawsuit is the manufacturer. They relied on Dick's, and they might be able to get something out of this. The
manufacturer that entered into a contract with Dick's to distribute, to sell their firearms on their behalf. Well, that's an interesting side point, but let's stick with the gun owners, or those who wanted to become gun owners and ordered these weapons. Richard, what do you think? Is there a case?
No, there's not. She's right. It's Contracts 101. The bottom line is that these are invitations to purchase. There was no contract entered into, so the plaintiffs can go across the street, go down the street, go to the nearby neighborhood and buy that same gun. Number one, there's no liability by the manufacturer, by Dick's. Number two, there's no damages. If you can buy the gun somewhere else and you don't have damages, add to that the fact that Dick's will most likely remove that suspension sometime in the coming months. If they do so, then the gun owner can buy the gun in 2, 3, 4 months from now. So there really is no case. I think it may even be hard to find a plaintiff's lawyer to take this case.
Oh, no. Come on. There's somebody out there. I know you guys. There's a lawyer who will take this case. But, since you both are in agreement, let me just play devil's advocate and ask you, Janet, because, Richard mentioned no damages. But, in fact, gun prices have gone up steeply in a lot of places around the country in the wake of the shootings in Connecticut. And so isn't that a legitimate damage that, I can't just go down the street and purchase it, at least not at the same price. That's going to cost me another, whatever, $100, a couple $100.
Right, and that's what I think these people are saying, that there's maybe a couple $100 difference. The thing that happens in advertising is anyone would be on the hook for that. I mean, if I drive by a gas station, I say, oh, maybe I'll go to Exxon. Oh, the line's too long, I'll come back later, and the price goes up. I can't ask Exxon for my money back. So advertisers can advertise something, and then they can revoke that if there's no agreement or acceptance, and I think that's what they're going to say. Obviously, these people are basically trying to make a statement about Dick's, but Dick's has made a decision that they're going to get more new shoppers than they're going to lose these old shoppers. And if I go in and buy a tennis racket, I guess they figured that's a benefit to them.
But clearly, Richard, Dick's must have known that this was going to ruffle feathers, because they've certainly gone out of their way to try to appease these customers whose orders they're not going to fill, giving them gift cards, refunding their money, a lot of them getting personalized notes or emails explaining the change in policy at Dick's Sporting Goods. They must have been trying to sort of head this off at the pass, no?
Yeah, and actually, from an advertising perspective, it probably is a very good idea, because what happened in Newtown is just unthinkable and unimaginable. So the people that they may have lost from the sales of unable to buy guns, they're going to get back in dozens, if not hundreds, from the public statement they made.
Richard Roth and Janet Johnson coming in on a New Year's Day. We appreciate it very much. Thanks for your time, and best wishes to you and your family.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
You guys too.